emergency weather alert. That's what's happening here is we have emergency weather alerts.
Right.
Well, good afternoon, folks. At least afternoon to those outside the Pacific time zone. Welcome to the 11th annual Transforming the Teaching and Learning Environment virtual conference presented by Northeastern State University. Session today is one of the 60-hour-long sessions. We have the Friday the 14th. Oh, I'm Bob Ailes, and you know I'll be your moderator for this session. As a reminder, all of our sessions are closed captioned. We have the lovely and talented Michelle doing the captioning for us. To view the captions, simply click on the closed caption icon on the toolbar applied on the screen. She does a great job. You ought to watch her work. Her fingers almost catch fire. They're moving so fast. Our session today is using video to make your case studies leap off the page. We have with us Amos Bailey, MD. He's the director of the Online Masters in Deep Palliative Care program at the University of Colorado Anschutz Medical Campus. And David, I'm not sure if you're pronouncing Weil. Is that correct, David?
Yep, that's right.
Good job.
But nobody can
David
pronounce
Weil,
Anschutz.
Manager of Operations and Educational Technology at the Colorado University Center for Bioethics and Humanities. And let me turn it over to David and Amos.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. This is Amos Bailey, and as was mentioned, I'm a physician and I work here at the University of Colorado Anschutz Medical Campus, and I trained as an oncologist, but I do palliative medicine and palliative care for the last 25 years, primarily. I do a lot of things. I do clinical care, I do research, but I've really been focused on education, particularly the mid-career provider, and learning, using online to allow people to learn in their own community without having to come and uproot themselves for graduate medical education. We are emulating the on-campus experience by always beginning our weeks with a patient-provider interaction, which we're going to show you about how this works. And the reason for doing this is to center the student into that environment. And we're going to show you how we did that. And I worked with David, our group worked with David because of his expertise to develop these videos.
Yep, my name's David Weil, and you know, I've been working with Amos now for about 4 years, and we've produced about 40 of these video case studies. We've kind of taken a breather now because it was kind of an exhausting process, but it was a fun process too. And I think we've developed quite a package of materials of different scenarios from young patients, old patients, inpatients, home hospice, a whole variety of things. And it's really been fun to be doing these. And let's see, I'm not advancing, so I'm going to figure out why. That didn't go very far. Hang on one sec. Share again. You never know what's going to happen in these worlds. It works now. Still doesn't. Fascinating.
We got it.
All right, we're going to figure it out. The technology hangs up on us within 1 second. Bear with us. Where's my... Let's see if we can get it working this way. We'll take it out of full screen mode and maybe that'll do the trick for us.
Okay, we got your slide.
All right, we'll try it like this. So, these videos that we've made really are about end-of-life care. But the reality is, the methodology that we use can be used for any discipline, whether it's engineering, law, human rights, and more. So, what these case studies do is instead of starting out with a piece of paper, like most case studies start out as a printed document, we've tried to kind of illustrate them with voiceover, with imagery, to try and make them more engaging for the students than just reading a piece of paper about a particular patient or case. We want to bring these case studies to you and have you ask us questions about what potential case studies you might have in mind and how you might go about illustrating them. And we're going to do a demonstration both of what we've been doing and show you how they're done, and then kind of open it up for discussion.
So our first case that we wanted to illustrate is one about Abebe and Adina. And we're going to show you about 90 seconds of an excerpt of one of these videos. These videos are typically somewhere between the length of 4 or 5 minutes. And in the video, the learner is asked to join the palliative care consult team or providers who are going into the video or into the situation to see the patient. So Abebe is a 35-year-old undocumented immigrant from Eritrea. He works as an Uber driver. Adina is his pregnant wife, and he has unfortunately developed end-stage renal failure. Healthcare is very fragmented for people on dialysis who are non-citizens and don't have access to insurance to cover it. And his dialysis has only been able to be provided in the emergency department in crisis. So we're going to watch that for just a second.
And we're going to try and put this back up on full screen for you, and we'll see if we got.
Hi, Adina and Abebe. My name is Harry. I'm in the advanced practice nurse with the palliative care team, and this is Bob, our social worker.
Hello, I'm the social worker, and your doctors asked us to meet with you. Why? What can you do?
Well, we know that you've been sick for the last few months. People often feel very sick, and it's hard to manage. What our team does is we see people that have serious illness. We try to help with any symptoms that you might be having and try to match what's important to you to next steps.
This is what I want in life. My family. My unborn child. The people that know me around me. I thank Allah for you and all the doctors and the nurses who have been taking care of me. I take pills and I know they will work with the help of Allah. I'm not going back to Eritrea. This is my home now. Adina and our unborn baby. My family is here now.
So currently, there's a workforce shortage of physicians working in palliative care that's expected to grow to 15,000 over the next 10 years. And the number of advanced practice providers, such as nurse practitioners, PAs, and then other people, social workers, psychologists, spiritual care providers, we actually need close to 100,000 of these individuals to meet the need for patients who have in need of palliative care. Traditionally, palliative care uses a master apprentice approach in academic medical centers. And so a very small number of specialty training slots are available. Here at the University of Colorado, we have 2 physicians training each year in palliative care. So there's really very limited formal training opportunities for nurses and other providers. And consequently, many people working in palliative care have little formal education and are learning on the job as they go. And we became the first university in the nation to offer this online master's degree in palliative care. We provide a specialty training for a variety of interdisciplinary team members through hybrid, but mostly online with an on-campus intensive weekends so it's scalable to up to 24 students in a class, and it allows these new specialists to stay in their home and practice and in their community. Another approach is our Coursera program, which we've invited to work on, and this program is completely online and costs are modest, but and you can even audit or apply for financial aid to be able to take it for free. But it is really basic in education, and it's not a graduate school level.
Okay.
So palliative care education, as we've mentioned, is in hospitals or clinics, and it always starts with seeing patients, and you go to see someone with your instructor, and then you hear that person's story. Then you come out and reflect on what you need to learn from a biomedical domain, or what is the issues that are psychosocial, spiritual, or ethical. And so we emulate this approach by using these vignettes to start each week with going in to see a patient and family with your instructor and ground the educational content in that patient's care. I wrote the scripts for the 8 different cases, and they're composite patients that are designed to illustrate the diversity of patient and families and of the unique needs and problems they experience. Most videos have the potential to be a catalyst for multiple biomedical and psychosocial, spiritual, or ethics modules.
So how did we make these things? You know, it was a multi-step process, but we typically had palliative team care members, you know, playing themselves. And then we recruited volunteers to play the roles of patients and families. You know, we recorded multiple takes to kind of convey genuine, how it feels right in saying the words that we had written as a script. And we turned a standard office into kind of a recording studio. It was very basic. We bought 4 studio microphones for $100 each. They plug into a little red box, a mixer. That mixer has an output that's USB, goes to a laptop, and we use Adobe Audition software to record the audio. Because people are very busy, we often didn't have all of the actors in the room at the same time. So we would record 1 or 2 people out of a cast of maybe 5 or 6 at a time, and then later assemble them together into a single audio track. So that was kind of how we got the audio done. The next thing that really kind of got more complicated is photographing these scenarios. We really wanted them to be authentic looking. So we photographed people in ICUs, in dialysis, in hospice settings, in home settings. Really ran the gamut. And clinics for follow-up visits. And the catch with doing the photography, unlike the audio, where we could do 1 or 2 people at a time, for photography, everybody had to be there at once. So that made kind of turned it into a kind of a scheduling challenge. And that was one of the most difficult aspects of getting this production done. Once we had photos and our audio track, we finally assembled it using a video editing program called Pinnacle Studio. It's a $100 program. It's pretty easy to use. It's kind of what you'd call maybe a prosumer product. It's like Premiere is another product of similar characteristics. And we would make a video from here that we would post on our online platform, Canvas. Okay, so that's kind of how we created these videos. And we're going to show you one more video, and then we can talk a little bit more about process.
I wanted to mention before we did that about why we made this choice of using the Ken Burnsian approach of still photos with audio. It's really hard for an actor to act in a video in a very realistic way, and it's almost impossible for an amateur to do it. So an amateur could could pose in the photo like you're seeing right now, and that person could also do the voice acting, but doing both things at the same time was really something that only a talented actor or actress would be able to do. And I personally forget that I'm watching still photos with voice when I'm engaging with these videos, because I find that the photo and the movement and the voice are emulating a true video, and it made it much easier to do.
Yeah. And from a logistics point of view, sometimes we had one person reading the script, but another person playing their part in the bed. So it wasn't necessarily always the same person who's being photographed we're hearing. Some people were just good at audio, and some people just looked the part that we wanted to play. So this is a story of Ali, who's a Vietnam veteran who has stage 4 lung cancer and also suffering from PTSD. And again, this is a segment of like a 6 or 7 minute piece, and we're just going to look at 90 seconds to give you a feel for this one.
Can you tell me how the PTSD is affecting you now? Sometimes the stress of cancer can really make things worse.
Well, you know, terrible things happened there. I saw Billy get blown up by a landmine, and he was right next to me. So I just don't want to talk about it. There's so many things I just don't want to talk about.
Thank you for telling me about your friend. It must have been really horrible. You don't have to talk about the events right now, but I'd really like to know how it's affecting you.
And there's all this construction at the hospital, and I heard some of the noises with the construction made me think I, set off a flashback, and I just saw Billy again in Nam, and that was a bad one. I haven't had a bad flashback like that in a long time.
Sounds really scary.
I told Millie I want to go home right now, and we didn't get the pills for the nausea. And, I had more of those flashbacks, and I started drinking again, just like I had, because that's what works to take care of them. And Millie went back for the pills, and I still couldn't keep anything down. And then they made me come to this damn place again.
So we'd like you to kind of see the whole videos if you want to see them. So both in your chat window and on this screen, if you want to take a picture of this screen, I don't know if you can get rid of our images down at the bottom, Bob, to kind of clean this out so people could actually take a picture of it or screen grab it. But it's also in your chat window. If you wanted to watch these online, you can watch the full pieces. I've also made kind of a handout of what we're going to spend the next maybe 20 minutes on, and that's kind of showing you how to do these using PowerPoint in a real step-by-step way. And that's also downloadable as a PDF, and it's in your chat window. The thing with this is these videos, a lot of people have told us after we show them these videos, they're great, but they're kind of complicated to produce. And people have asked us, is there a way for us to kind of bring this kind of a little bit more down to earth in terms of production process, but still get a pretty similar result? And the way that we do that is using PowerPoint. And I think that's something that everybody has. And I want to go through on a kind of a step-by-step basis how you would make one of these videos. But before I jump into that, does anybody here have questions or comments before I jump into kind of showing you how you can do this your very self at home?
While people are maybe writing their question on a chat, I was just going to say that we are actually using video in less complicated ways embedded into lessons. So actually this last week, we had students who were learning about mucositis, which is a sore mouth, and problem swallowing, which is common in dementia. And I had made a little video of a patient or family member on a cell phone asking a question to the student, and then they watched that video, and then they made their own video of how they would respond to that patient or family member answering their question based on what they had been learning that week. And so we are using a lot of this to emulate the in-person training experience where people get to actually practice with patients and families.
So it's really a pretty basic process of inserting a photo into a PowerPoint, and then speaking right at your laptop or computer into a microphone, the same kind of microphone we're speaking to you now with, and recording an audio segment for this. We really recommend writing out what you plan to say. This is really impossible to do kind of off the cuff. Plus, if you write down what you're going to say, your script, in the notes section at the bottom of your screen, then you can also use that as kind of a transcript. A lot of learners have a hard time dealing with just hearing a message, and it really reinforces it if they can also have a transcript or writing. You know, I know you're doing that today for us, which is amazing. But you know, if you have written down, not only can you read this as you're doing the recording, and kind of keeping specifically what you want to say, but also it provides a printed document. We'll show you that at the end, that you can also post in your online course. This is Michelle, who's down the hall from us here, and one of our team, and she recorded this on Friday for us. And I'm just going to kind of play this audio clip, and then I'm going to show you for the rest of this demo how you put these in and manage them.
These studies help me to practice empathy and learn more about patient-centered care.
So that's just an audio clip that we recorded just for this slide only. And you know, the basic process is you insert a photo, and I'm going to go just onto my computer and find a photo to insert here. And I've kind of schemed this out a little bit. And I'm going to actually put in two. You don't have to limit yourself to one photo. So I'm going to insert another one just because you can't have enough, right? And you know, yesterday in Colorado, it was 70 degrees, and today it's snowing and ski weather. But my audio here is written down at the bottom, and I'm going to pull this one forward so it's on top of the other one. And let's see if I can find where that is and get this out of the way. Format, bring to front. All right, so let's say this is my slide. And I'm now going to record a little bit of audio. So I go to Insert and Audio and Record Audio. Okay? And you can name this or not name this. I'm just going to call it Outdoors. But you don't really even have to name these. And when you click the Record button, you start recording. And basically, I would be reading what I have in my notes section. So I'm going to say 3, 2, 1. When I'm not working at University of Colorado, I love to spend time in the outdoors, skiing, camping, hiking, and biking. And you'll note there's a little audio icon here that gets created. And we can just play this back so you can be sure that you got it. When I'm not working at University of Colorado. Okay, so it's recorded it. But when you ultimately want to export this into a video, you don't want this audio icon to show. So if you go into playback, I click on hide during show so it doesn't record that. Otherwise, you're going to see a little audio icon in your video. And also, I want this to advance automatically. So those are the two steps. And this is in the handout, so you don't have to frantically write stuff down. But you want to do your recording, you want to hide it, and you want it to play automatically. So we're going to do one more, okay, just so you get a feel for this. So I'm going to go to my next slide. And here we have Bob. We're going to torture Bob here. We're going to insert a picture. And for those of you who don't know what Bob looks like, here's another picture of Bob. And we're going to record a bit of audio for this.
Duck.
Insert. Sorry, you know, I should have contacted you and asked you, but I wanted to kind of surprise you. That's all I could find. Record audio. And we'll call this one Bob. And we go 3, 2, 1. Thanks to Bob Hales for organizing this conference and helping make all of this possible. And again, it made a little audio icon here, and we're going to check it. Thanks to Bob Hales. Okay. And again, the 2 steps after you record something in the playback tab is hide it and make it advance automatically.
It's really irritating that you can't do that. You can't make it to be the default, but you have to do it for every slide. It's something that I've learned over the last 3 years.
Yeah, it does come to haunt you a little bit. And you know what Amos was saying about doing a video with his phone, you know, everybody has, not only does everybody have PowerPoint, but everybody has their phone, and you can actually use video in these as well and put video clips into the PowerPoint just as if you would be doing it in front of an audience. But we're going to end up making a video out of this as a final product. But you can insert video either from YouTube, from your phone, so you can integrate both narrated single slides, and then you can have a single slide that just plays a video, and then you can go back to slides again. Very, very easy. So I'm going to insert a video for you, and this is something I found online, and I'm just going to insert, instead of this time an audio, I'm going to insert a video from my computer. And you might think this looks a little familiar, but once we kind of cook this up and you have a chance to see this, you know, then we're going to kind of ask you or allow you to ask us questions so we can help you with this. And you can actually pick a frame that you want to have as the frame that comes up on this by just rolling and advancing to wherever you want it. And under, oh, go back to that, get it back to where I want it. So this is, say, what I want to have showing. And I'm going to make that under Format, my poster frame. And I call it the current frame. So even though that isn't the start of the video, that's what's going to show when we get to it on the power. So that's kind of gives you a little bit of sense. And, you know, instead of just in addition to saving it, that's a good first step, is to save. But then you're going to, instead of just saving it, you're going to export. And you're going to pick create a video. And you just click on create video. And so that's how kind of you can do a very similar process to what we have been doing using PowerPoint. And when you click on that, it kind of takes a little while to kind of go in the oven, kind of like as if you were cooking a casserole. It might take 5 or 10 minutes, depending on the speed of your computer and how many slides are there. So instead of waiting for it to cook, I already cooked one of these up earlier this morning, and I'm going to just pull that up right now and show you what the final result is. This is very similar, okay? Otherwise, we'd have to wait for it to come out of the oven. So if there's no audio, it plays 5 seconds of a slide.
These studies help me to practice empathy and learn more about patient-centered care.
When I'm not working at University of Colorado, I love to get outdoors and ski, hike, bike, and camp. And I also want to thank Bob Hales for the excellent job he's doing organizing this online conference. So that's kind of how it works.
I was going to mention that I like to capture things that people say or situations that come up in my clinical practice. So I still work in the hospital seeing patients. And so recently, for instance, like 6 months ago, I was talking with a husband and wife who were dealing with the wife's cancer, and they were trying to make a decision about whether they were going to go to hospice or stay on palliative care or try to get more treatment. And the wife said something that just caught my ear. She said, "I want another bite at the apple," meaning that she wanted to try to get better, to try to take chemotherapy again, to live a little longer. And so I just immediately wrote some notes down about that after that encounter to keep that in my mind, and then made a little video of a patient saying something similar to that, so that the students could practice having an opportunity to answer or engage with that kind of question. So it can be something like a big case like a Bebe or our Ollie Green, or it can be something that's really like this 30 seconds of somebody saying something that is profound and touching and that people need to be prepared to respond to.
And I think the reason we do these is it just seems so much more powerful to have an image and a voice than it does to just send somebody an email or a document. And that's what we're trying to kind of demonstrate with this, is the impact that it has and the way the students remember and kind of engage, and much more receptive to a visual or a story or image and voice than they do to just sending them a block of text. Does anybody have questions about kind of production process or how you do these things? God, you're all silent out there. My goodness.
How many videos have you guys produced so far?
So we have 8 cases which have all kinds of diversity, and we have an intro case when they enter palliative care, 3 or 4 problems, and then usually either a case at the end of life or a bereavement. So each one, so the 8 times 5 gives you 40 of these very high quality videos that David and I and our team all created together. And then I can't really keep count of how many other little videos I've made using a process similar to what David showed you that we use in our courses all the time. And so almost every week we're using PowerPoint to convert it into a video that is, part of the educational content. So each week the module is made up of multiple sections that are 5 to 10 minutes long, trying to respect adult learning theory. And so some of those will be videos, some of those will be PowerPoints with narration, some of them will be like these little cases that I described earlier. So we use it a lot, and we convert a lot of things from PowerPoint into video that we use in our courses.
Thanks. I think we've got some good questions in the chat box.
Okay, let me find that real quick. Okay, let's take it from the top, I guess. See what we have here. People from everywhere. How much does Adobe Audition cost? Audacity is definitely a free option, and it works fine. The catch with that for us was we had 4 different microphones and 4 different tracks of people that we wanted to adjust and modify in our studio. So that's why we used this more complicated and more expensive Adobe Audition software. It comes as part of the Adobe Creative Suite, which also has Photoshop and Illustrator and a few other tools. And it depends on what your academic environment is, on how much that costs. It's usually a couple $100s a year if you have no academic kind of bulk pricing, but can be done cheaper if your university has negotiated a deal with Adobe. They're stored on a server. You know, we store the actual video files on Dropbox and on a university server just for kind of archiving. But for the actual viewing of the students, they're on an online learning platform. We use Canvas. And then there's also another platform called Coursera, which is being used for anybody who wants to take kind of a single course versus the entire master's degree. Let's see, creating scenarios, great tool. What has been the students' response to the videos? I'll let Amos hit on that one.
So the student responses to our overall program have been very positive. We have had nearly 100% retention of students in our program. Those that we've had a couple of students who had to withdraw, but it was because of like family or life situations, that not because of the content of the course. They really are responding to the entire pedagogical approach, which is that every week we're starting with this and we're learning about the biomedical content. So in the case of Ollie, we would be learning about the issues of nausea and vomiting, and the psychologist would be teaching about PTSD, and then the students would come up with a plan to help Ollie you know, cope with his difficult situation. In the case of Bebe, you know, they're learning about issues related to the distress of being on dialysis, but the social worker was doing modules about working with people who are undocumented. And so the students very much love the experience of having this integrated content, so that instead of there being a psychology or spiritual care or social work or biomedical class, that these things are woven together, because that emulates how most healthcare providers learn their task in the clinical setting. So we get, I know that they like the videos, but what I know more is that they like that the video is informing this pedagogical style.
TechSmith Relay, yeah, that's another great product that can do very similar things to what PowerPoint's doing in that.
The problem with TechSmith is that you can't reorder things. So you have to make sure that you have everything in the right order before you, because really what the TechSmith allows you to do is to edit stuff out. It does not allow you to reorder material, any kind of the content. So some intermediate products like Snagit allows you to reorder certain kinds of content. And I think that you have to decide on what kind of software, you know, you have, how complicated you're going to make it. I mean, obviously there's this the time that you spend learning how to use a particular kind of software. But I have to tell you that I decided I didn't like TechSmith so much because I couldn't reorder things. And that's why I liked the PowerPoint, or I liked the Snagit, because I could reorder the content better.
Even though you've recorded audio, you can move the slides around just like you would without audio. You know, you could just jiggle them all over the slide deck and
then change it and then turn it back into a video again.
Right. You can just record one slide if things change or you had a better idea for a slide. So it's very flexible, the PowerPoint is. And it doesn't involve having to go back and recut an audio track and re-put it back in with the images like we had kind of started down the road. That's why we like the PowerPoint tool, is because it's so flexible and easy to update as things change. Candy, I see you said that the animation, you know, we did do a fair amount of like zooming in, zooming out. And honestly, you know, it adds to the emotion and lets you stay on a slide longer if the slide is like not static, but moving a little bit in terms of the imagery. It kind of makes it feel a little bit more like that video. And, you know, if someone's talking, you're focusing on their eyes or their expression. You can do this in PowerPoint. It's not quite as smooth as Pinnacle Studio as a tool to make the animations happen. But if you Google like Ken Burns effect in PowerPoint, you'll see that in the animation tools of PowerPoint, it is possible to do some zooms in and out and pans. So with a little practice and a lot of patience, it can be done.
One of the things I would mention right now is that if you're using an Apple computer, you have to do everything on Apple and not go to PC. And if you do something on PC, do not go to Apple. Do not take your files and put them in the Apple and then try to work on them in PC. There is just some glitches that will get embedded into your content that will drive you crazy. So use one or the other. Don't mix them together.
Yeah, that's true. It's kind of like oil and water. You know, that they're very subtle issues, and they vary depending on, you know, what version of PowerPoint and what day of the week and whether it's snowing or raining. But sooner or later, you find some trouble if you kind of have one person record on a PC and then give you the PowerPoint. You start recording more things on a Mac. That doesn't seem to work real well. But pretty much any version of Mac, as long as everybody's in one happy Mac family, work well. And the same with PC. If everybody's, it doesn't matter if you're on Office 13 and Office 2019,
right,
as long as it's all done on a PC or all done on a Mac, but don't commingle them within one PowerPoint talk.
We've actually started like labeling our files so that is it a PC file, is it a Mac file? Because we have a lot of faculty. Like in any one of our courses, we may have 10 or 12 faculty members. There's always going to be an admixture of Apple and PC people, and we just can't commingle their files.
Yeah, I mean, they're subtle, you know, like one group will be 3 seconds of delay compared to another group, but it's enough to drive you totally nuts. Fair use issues, you know, we have occasionally picked up some fair use materials, but they're on very short amount of time, and we're not selling the product. You know, it's an educational product that's behind a password protected environment. So much like any kind of PowerPoint that you do in an academic environment, as long as you're not like selling it as a product, it's probably okay to get away with that. But we did shoot original photos of all of the patient cases that Amos and I have done together in these various settings in the dialysis unit. It's not stock footage. It was a cast of characters that I actually went and photographed. And now we have a huge cast. I feel like Louis Mayer. We have a big studio full of actors and actresses here on the campus. And we continue to use them for more and more things because we've had so much fun doing these. They really have been kind of a labor of love. They've been enjoyable to do. It's not been a task that's been difficult. It's been pretty much fun. But you can pick out, you know, if you're concerned about that, you know, you can go into Google Images and pick things that are free to use just by filtering in the tools on the top of the image search. Yep.
Yeah.
You know, we did come up across a couple of things that we kind of didn't anticipate or were, you know, we learned from doing this process. And I'm going to try and find that real quick. I'm going to go back to our original PowerPoint here. some of our kind of lessons learned too.
So-
I'll let
Yeah.
you start them out.
So time is a problem for busy people. We wanted the actors to be people that were portraying palliative care providers. And so you see a photo here of Judy Knudsen, who is a PA who works in palliative care. And she's one of both the voices, but also one of the still photo actors for us. And it's just hard to get everyone together, as we mentioned earlier. One of the issues that we did have a little problem with is that I would write these videos, these scripts, and then we would workshop them with groups of people, and then we would come in and we would shoot them, and there would be, not shoot them, we would record them, and there would be things that would get changed, during the recording. Someone would say, I just feel better using a contraction here, or using a different word, pausing in some way. But if you ask someone who's an expert to do something a little wrong, or maybe not quite the way they would do it, because you want to illustrate this in such a way that then the students could find how they might improve that conversation, it makes the person who is acting that out feel really uncomfortable that they're portraying something in a way that they would not normally do it themselves as an expert. So trying to get them to do less than ideal behavior for the purposes of education was problematic.
Right. And yet that's a great learning opportunity. We just haven't figured out the right strategy for it. But learning from doing things wrong, or making mistakes, or doing things that aren't, perfect, so to speak, is almost as rich a learning as emulating doing it well, maybe more so. We also kind of, we shot these 40 videos, and after I had showed them to a couple of colleagues, and one of them said, a friend of mine was just undergoing cancer treatment, and he was a photographer. He brought his iPhone while he was in the hospital, and he started taking pictures of some of the people who were taking care of him, the housekeepers and the people who brought him food, because he wanted to that's how he kind of establishes relationships with people. We realized, I didn't get enough, I think, in terms of the photography and all of these scenarios from the patient's point of view. I have pictures like looking at the caregiver in the eyes, but I think when we start doing these again, I'm going to actually get in the bed and take pictures from bed, or I'm going to actually get into as much of the patient's, visual point of view as possible to make that, more apparent in the videos. Does anybody have thoughts about specific case studies that they have that this might be applicable to? And what disciplines are you in? I assume everybody's not medicine out there. Let's see. I can get this back up. Counseling sessions.
Oh, so yeah, so we actually do a lot of counseling with patients and family members. And so one thing that we're working on now is a video where two of our providers are demonstrating how they would do a certain kind of support for dementia patients who have confusion. So instead of always correcting them, it's a process of like in some ways playing into their role and trying to help get them redirected that way. So they're making a little video themselves of how to do this, and then that will be included in the educational material. And then I did mention, that we are having students make videos of themselves counseling a video of, a counseling a person that they're seeing in a video who's asking them a question. And so we've done this in things like problems with swallowing, depression, counseling about opioids, counseling about spiritual care, responding to people's questions who had advanced lung disease and were considering or were enrolled in palliative care services. And so you can do a lot of different things like that. And what we did discover that in some industries, particularly service industries, like someone who's doing working at a hotel, that they may train their employees by having little videos of people come to the desk and ask a question or say something or be provocative in some way, and then the person gets to practice how they would respond to that, and you get to make sure that you're okay with their response before you put them out on the front desk. And so we think that that's very analogous to all kinds of things that we would be teaching students to do, that they're going to be interacting with other people. So what are the kinds of things that they might, have an issue with, and then have them have the experience of someone being angry, someone being sad, someone crying, and responding to it, so that that's kind of, they're building that muscle, so that when that happens in real life, or something similar happens in real life, they've had this experience to build on.
Yeah. I think all of these comments that are coming in on the chat really do fit this very well. This is about communication. It's not a kind of a substitute for a lecture where you're just kind of doing an info dump of a bunch of word slides and narrating them. The real success of this kind of thing is to teach people communication skills. There isn't really kind of a grade where you get it or you don't get it. This is kind of a way to encourage conversation, to encourage a discussion. It's kind of a jumping off point rather than a learning product in itself. It's really intended to be an opportunity to bring issues into the conversation. And I think that will be the best use of this tool versus trying to kind of avoid giving the hour-long lecture and just doing it like this and going off on vacation.
I'm going to have one thing. First off, we have about 2 minutes left, but in terms of using video, Indiana University of Pennsylvania was doing something interesting for their counseling program. They were using hardware and software like football coaches use to record games, then slice it up into offense, defense, different category of plays. They record mock counseling sessions and then slice it up in terms of various behaviors and practices. So you wanted things on reflection. You could call up all the various examples of reflection in their mock interviews. And I thought that was an interesting use of video.
Yeah, no, I think that sounds excellent. And just kind of gauging the range of responses and the range of strategies that the learners may have to address these things. That's where it really gets rich. And often the students learn from each other.
Right.
That's one of the key outcomes is the students kind of, different strategies then become the learning material. It's not that there's only one right way.
It's if you just read what someone said that they were going to say and you didn't have a video of them actually portraying it, like sometimes people are able to, I say, get away with, when if I had just read what they were going to say, I would say, I don't think that's going to work. But then when I see how it comes off, I go, well, that worked actually pretty well. Here's some, recommendations I have, or vice versa, that, I see something, I'm like, well, that really was off the point. And, that student may need additional instruction or help or another attempt. And I was originally trying to make it so that it would emulate what was happening in the real setting, where people would only have one opportunity. But now we're letting people do the videos as many times as they want to, so that they can do mastery.
And my last answer to the closed captioning question is, I've seen it used in Office 2019. There is a tool now to close caption videos. So if you get that, you can play with it. There is a way to do it. The quick and easy way is to just print a handout of the slides, which has the text running alongside of it, and have that as a kind of a concurrent thing. But this new closed captioning tool is great. So thank you very much. I appreciate your interest, and feel free to email us back. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have after the fact, or as you get into this further down the road. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. I was really interested. Obviously, you spurred a lot of information and interest in this. So thanks again. I hope to see you guys in our next session in a few minutes.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Bye.